Hey, what is up? So for this video, I actually want to talk about a pretty interesting plot detail heading into season 6 of Better Call Saul surrounding the storyline of Saul Goodman. And that is the fact that we're likely going to see Saul purchase a gun for the first time in the plot of Better Call Saul in season 6. And the reason I say this is that following the failed hit on Lalo Salamanca at the hands of Gus Fring, where Mike Ehrmantraut disclosed to Saul Goodman that Lalo was going to die, thus easing his fears surrounding Lalo coming back to hurt him and Kim.
Lalo Salamanca is going to die tonight.
Tonight?
This time tomorrow, it'll be done.
So I imagine that following Saul realizing that Lalo is not dead, which is going to have to happen based on the canon of Breaking Bad, I imagine that this knowledge is going to instill absolute fear into Saul Goodman next season, which will likely lead him to purchasing a gun for the very first time. Now, interestingly, in the plot of Breaking Bad, the only time we see Saul Goodman with the gun took place in season 5 of Breaking Bad in the episode entitled Confessions, where following Jesse realizing that Huell was the one who lifted the rice and cigarette out of his pocket, he then abandons the plan to go with Ed the Disappearer and instead trudges back to Saul's office and punches him in the face. And then while Saul is on the floor trying to get his gun, Jesse beats him to it. And we see a quick shot here in this drawer of Saul Goodman's gun. So with that being said, I think next season we're going to see Saul establish his connection with the character Lawson, the gun dealer who sells guns on the black market to the Albuquerque criminal class. Now, interestingly, we've already seen Lawson twice in the plot of Better Call Saul so far, both times in season 2 of Better Call Saul. First in the episode entitled Gloves Off, where Mike considered buying a rifle to kill Tuco with as part of his plot with Nacho in that episode, but of course we see him change his mind here.
I've changed my mind. Thank you. I don't need anything at this time. For your trouble?
Oh, it's no trouble. I make my living on repeat business. When you need what I'm offering, you know how to find me.
But of course, later, at the very end of this season, in the final episode entitled Click, we then see Mike purchase the same gun he was thinking about buying in order to try to kill Hector Salamanca. This plot is, of course, foiled by Gus Fring in this episode. Now, interestingly, while it's not said outright in season 2 of Better Call Saul, it is heavily implied that Mike went through the contact of the vet, Dr. Caldera, in order to establish this contact of Lawson, who sells guns on the black market. And actually, interestingly, in season 4 of Breaking Bad, which was actually the very first time we saw Lawson in the plot of Breaking Bad, we see him say to Walter White, when Walter White goes to him to purchase the 38 snub-nosed gun in the episode 38 snub that season, we see Lawson say to Walt that Walt was referred to him by Saul Goodman.
You know, mister, I've been providing my services for the past 30-odd years. You'd think in that time I'd learned better than ask a man his business, especially not one referred by the lawyer. But I do feel the urge to ask you, we strictly talking defense here?
And with it being the plot detail in this season that Walt felt the need to purchase this gun following the death of Victor in the previous episode, I find it hard to imagine that Saul had not already established this contact with Lawson. So I imagine that Walt went to Saul directly and Saul already had this contact established. Although I suppose it is possible that he had not yet established this contact yet and then went to the vet Caldera in the timeline of Breaking Bad to get this connection. But like I said, based on the fact that we're likely going to see Saul buy a gun next season, I find it very unlikely that he doesn't already have this contact established when Walter White asked him to purchase a gun in the plot of Breaking Bad. So that being said, next season in season 6 of Better Call Saul, I wonder if we'll see Saul go through Caldera to buy this gun, or maybe he can go through Mike Ehrmantraut next season as well. Both would make sense, but I definitely think that based on the fact that Lalo Salamanca is still alive and just based on the total fear we saw in Saul Goodman's eyes in the final episode of Better Call Saul in season 5 entitled Something Unforgivable, I definitely think we're going to see him purchase this gun next season.
If anything happens to her, I can't do this. I can't.
That being said, I actually went back to the trailer for season 6 of Better Call Saul, and I remember a very short scene of someone dumping a gun, a couple of magazines, and some money on a bed at what looked to be a motel, and I wondered if maybe this was a scene of Saul purchasing a gun here. And actually, I went back to season 5 of Breaking Bad, and I looked at the gun that Saul had in that episode entitled Confessions, and unfortunately, it really appears that these are not the same guns. That would be quite the pull here if we see Saul buy that gun that he had in his desk next season in season 6 from Lawson in a motel room like Walter White did in the plot of Breaking Bad, and like how Mike met him in a motel room as well in the plot of Better Call Saul. Of course, just because it wasn't displayed to us in this trailer, it doesn't mean that it's not possible, but it appears that irrespective of what's going on in this scene, I don't think that is the same gun that Saul had in his desk in the plot of Breaking Bad. Of course, that also being said, I just wanted to point out that the only other time we saw Saul purchase a gun for someone was in the DVD bonus scene entitled Chicks and Guns for season 5 of Breaking Bad. I actually broke down that scene in more detail in a previous video. You can go back and watch it if you want. But again, when Saul gives this gun to Jesse Pinkman, again, while it's not stated outright where he got this gun, I do wonder if, based on the canon of Breaking Bad and Saul having this connection of Lawson, I wonder if Saul also purchased this gun for Jesse Pinkman.
In case you don't already have one. Take care.
Via Lawson as well.
The gun.
What gun?
The gun in the bag.
I have no idea what's in that bag, okay? A little fairy angel asked me to drop it here. Well, it's not a sack of lollipops.
So, back off! I'm trying to do you a favor here.
Be straight with me. Why are you giving me a gun?
So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys on this one. That being said, as I mentioned in a previous video, I'm thinking back to that interview that Bob Odenkirk did with the New York Times Magazine where he previewed season 6 of Better Call Saul, where he said that the season is focused more on character development than quote-unquote a lot of guns. And while he did say there were some guns, as I mentioned in my review for the season 6 trailer, there were quite a few guns displayed to us in this trailer. So again, I'll be really curious to see what role all of these different weapons play in the plot of Better Call Saul next season. And like I said, I really think there's a great chance that Saul will purchase a gun next season, just based on what happened at the end of season 5 of Better Call Saul. And as always, my name is Anton Jackson. Thank you again so much for watching this video.